best fight, the best boxing. The Golovkin saga continues. This dude. So, Golovkin is fighting Vanes Martirosyan for the WBA, WBC titles. Notice I did not say IBF title, because I am a firm believer that the IBF is going to strip Golovkin if they are being fair. No, if the IBF is being fair, they should be moving to strip Golovkin if he goes through with this fight for Vanes Martirosyan, because his next mandatory is for the IBF title. That's his next mandatory. He has that mandated fight that he has to do. The IBF mandatory challenger is Derevyanchenko. When Dominic Wade was the IBF challenger, the IBF mandatory challenger, you didn't hear Team Golovkin saying black fighters don't sell. You didn't hear Team Golovkin saying, what has Dominic Wade done to deserve a fight with us? What has Dominic Wade done to deserve a title shot with Golovkin? You know, we'll drop the IBF title if they force us to, you know, make this title defense. We'll consider dropping that belt, because he hasn't done anything to deserve a shot with Golovkin. You know, because those are the words that Abel Sanchez said about Charlo. Those are the words that he said about Charlo. But he didn't say those words about Dominic Wade. What he did say is, look, I know you guys might not like this fight, but we have to fight Dominic Wade in order to keep our belts. We fought too hard for these belts, and we're not just going to throw them away. So we have to fight our mandatories. So in order to fight our mandatories, we got to fight Dominic Wade. Look, he's a good fighter, you know. I mean, we expect Gennady to beat him, but, you know, he's a good fighter. He's not a washed-up fighter. He's not a bum. Those were the words of Abel Sanchez. Those were Abel Sanchez's words when the IBF challenger was Dominic Wade. A fighter that no one has never heard of. A fighter that has done nothing prior to that, did nothing in the fight, and has done nothing since. That's Dominic Wade. But when it comes to his IBF and WBC mandatories, when it comes to his WBC, he's threatening getting rid of the title, dropping the belt, because if they force Charlo to fight Gennady, then they're considering dropping the title, because Charlo has done nothing to get that title shot. Although Charlo was an undefeated super welterweight champion and moved up in weight, and now is the mandatory to the WBC title. Well, he was the mandatory. So then they put another fight in front of him. So if he beats Hugo Centeno, which I very well believe he will, by stoppage, then he will become the mandatory again, when he was already the mandatory. But let's put him to the side, because the IBF mandatory was Dominic Wade, and they were so up in arms about, hey, you know, we may not want this fight neither, but we're forced to do it. We worked too hard for these belts, and we're not just going to throw them away. He's our mandatory. So you guys saying that, you know, we should fight somebody else, well, in due time we'll fight other fighters, but right now we have to fight our mandatories because we're not going to lose our belt. That was the wording. That was the rhetoric. But now when it comes to Derevyanchenko, it's, oh, well, we don't have enough time to prepare. This is a short notice fight. 1. Gennady Golovkin was preparing for Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is who he was preparing for. Canelo Alvarez is arguably better than Golovkin. Arguably better than Golovkin. So Golovkin was preparing for a fighter that was arguably better than himself. You know what I'm saying? Arguably better than himself. One. So Golovkin was preparing for a guy that was arguably better than him, if not just as good, because they just fought to a draw. A draw means equal, however way you want to look at it. If you want to say whoever won that fight, it's irrelevant because they fought to a draw. And a draw means equal. So that means Golovkin is fighting for someone that's arguably equal, if not better, than him. Keep that in mind. So if you're fighting for someone that's arguably equal, if not better than you, so are you claiming that Derevyanchenko is better than that? If you're saying that Derevyanchenko is better than you and Canelo, then I can understand you not wanting to fight this man next, who agreed to fight you on short notice. Derevyanchenko was not expecting to fight Golovkin in May. He was not expecting to fight him. He was expecting Canelo to fight him. You know what I'm saying? He was probably in shape, but he probably wasn't in Gennady Golovkin or Canelo Alvarez fight shape. You know what I'm saying? He probably wasn't ready for that. So anybody who has a disadvantage in this fight, it would be Derevyanchenko, because he wasn't preparing as if he was about to fight those guys next, because he was expecting that fight to be the next fight. You understand what I'm saying? So Canelo or Golovkin, you know what I'm saying, would be in a better position. They would be prepared better to fight Derevyanchenko on short notice, because Derevyanchenko would not have been Gennady Golovkin or Canelo Alvarez prepared. Do you understand what I'm saying? He would have been prepared to fight, but he would have been at a disadvantage because he wouldn't have had the sparring partners for it. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't have been doing the training and the studying of it. He wouldn't have been doing all that because he's expecting to watch them. So he's just, at this moment, keeping himself in shape. So he's at the disadvantage if this fight would have been made. But what Golovkin is saying, by picking a fucking 154-pounder, a guy who's never fought at 160, by picking that person, a guy that is lost to a dude that you claim doesn't sell twice, but you picked the loser of that fight anyway. Not to say you should be fighting Lara right now, but he should have fought Lara a while ago. You know what I'm saying? And nobody would have complained about it. But anyways, what Golovkin is pretty much saying is that Derevyanchenko is better than Canelo and him. So since he believes Derevyanchenko is better than both he and Canelo, then he's not ready to fight him. You know what I'm saying? He's not ready to fight that. He needs to fight someone, a tune-up, so that he can stay sharp, you know, fight someone that he should wash so he can stay sharp and be ready to fight Canelo in September for that payday. You know what I'm saying? That's what this is about right here. Because if it was best fighting the best, then he will be fighting at least his IBF mandatory, Derevyanchenko. But since he isn't, he should be stripped of that IBF title. If the IBF is being fair. And I say that to say this. You know, Crawford and Indongo had to jump through hoops to get that fight made and not fight Sergey, and for Indongo to not fight Lipinets for the IBF title. They had to jump through hoops for that. What hoops are being jumped through for Golovkin? Like, if he's not legitly stripped of the IBF title, and I don't want to hear people talking about, oh, well, it's not Golovkin's fault that what happened with Canelo. No, you're right. It's not Golovkin's fault. It's not Golovkin's fault what happened with Canelo. You're right. That has nothing to do with Golovkin. Golovkin didn't tell him to eat meat that was tainted with whatever, if he actually did that, which I don't believe. But Golovkin didn't tell him to do that. But life goes on. The life goes on. The rules haven't changed. You know what I'm saying? The sanctioning bodies allowed for this rematch to happen. They didn't have to. They allowed for this rematch to happen. But now, since the rematch isn't happening, it's what's next. And what's next is the IBF title. That's what's next. You have an IBF mandatory, bruh. you need to fight your IBF mandatory. If you don't fight your IBF mandatory, then you should lose your IBF title. You know what I'm saying? The WBC, the WBA will probably allow you to hold on to your belts until the Canelo fight. You know what I'm saying? Especially the WBC, because they're trying to get Canelo back in their good graces. But the IBF has been strict about this shit. So I'm expecting them to continue to be strict about this shit. Because if they don't continue with their strict ways, you know, then they're putting the black eye on themselves. They're putting the black eye on their sanctioning body. They have been probably the best at enforcing mandatories, the best, you know, at enforcing title fights and things of that nature. The other sanctioning body seems to have all types of wiggle room for all types of bullshit. But I'm expecting the IBF, I'm fully expecting them to strip Golovkin. I'm fully expecting it because he's not fighting the IBF mandatory. And if he doesn't get stripped, then I'm expecting him to be paying Derevyanchenko some step-aside money. That's what I'm expecting. One of those two things. And I'm expecting the IBF to be releasing some type of statement, because I stay on their website, and I'm waiting to see something. So, we'll see. Best fight, the best boxing. And Golovkin versus Derevyanchenko is not it, man.